a bit. I'm not as a bad critic on the game. I mean, on the movie, as others are, because again, this movie was a part of my childhood. So all the movies that I were attached to as a child that weren't too well done, I don't well in on them as too much. But what I can say, what was done terribly was just the story, period. Like, besides the characters having their own names, there was nothing in this movie that was based on the game at all. I mean, this movie, like, was just terrible. Chun-Li was a news reporter. Ryu and Ken are struggling con artists. Are you serious? Alright, first of all, what I didn't like about the story was that that they made Colonel Gao seem like he was like the ultimate hero, like everything depended on him, which wasn't true. Because if you're a true video game if you're a true Street Fighter fan, you may not be fans of Ryu and Ken, but everyone knows the story is pretty much not about, but for the most part is surrounded about Ryu and Ken, preferably Ryu, because the first movie was strictly about Ryu. And I think that is bogus that in the movie they have the main character, but they based the movie on someone who is not even that important. Colonel Gao, are you serious? He gets his butt kicked. Like, in the story, he gets his butt kicked by every 5 seconds. He can't even beat M. Bison. And so I just thought that was bogus. However, there were some things I liked about the movie. I thought the fight scenes, some people, they wail in big time saying that the fight scenes were terrible, but I think that the fight scenes were pretty good in being, they were pretty good at being choreographed. I thought it had some good choreography, although I was kind of pissed because none of the characters besides M. Bison and maybe Gao, for that one little clip, no one used their powers. Are you serious? That's like making a Justice League movie and not having their powers. That's like having a superhero name. That's like making a movie about Batman, but there is no bats like around at all, and he's like, there is no like plot to the story at all. It is just retarded. How do you make a Street Fighter movie without the powers? Like, I didn't see Chun-Li do her kicks. I didn't see E Honda do his 1,000 hand slap. I didn't see, although they did try to play it off like Ryu did his Hadouken, there was no fire, there was no blue flash. Are you serious? It was like a gust of wind, and it was like a split second. And like when Colonel Gao did like his flash kick, there was no flash at all. And they didn't even say what their power, what their attack was. 'Cause usually when they do their attacks, they say what they're about to do. And I just felt that it was just bogus. I mean, Ryu and Ken being con artists, when does Ken have to be a con artist? Ken is like the most richest person on earth. He's like a billionaire. And Ryu, that doesn't even play into his character. Ryu isn't that type of person at all. And Chun-Li, a news reporter? And why is Balrog helping the good guys and he's a villain? I mean, that is retarded. But all in all, I'm not too bad, I'm not too strict of a critic on the Street Fighter movie. Like I said, the movie was a part of my childhood, and all the movies and the TV shows that I had an attachment on, which now looking back weren't so good. I don't well into them too much. So that's all I gotta say about Street Fighter. Mortal Kombat, I thought it was brilliant. I thought the story was well thought of. I thought that the characters, unlike in the Street Fighter movie, actually resembled the characters. Liu Kang was actually Asian, unlike Street Fighter, where Ken has short orange hair, but in the video game he has long blonde hair. I mean, where does the whole orange hair thing come from? Ken is blonde, not red hair. Alright, continuing on with the movies based on games. Alright, the next movie didn't do too well with the critics, and some of the fans, a pretty good deal of the fans, don't really like it too much. And there's Resident Evil. I thought Resident Evil was great. I knew off the bat it wasn't going to be like overly spectacular, because this was, when they made Resident Evil, this was around the time where Hollywood had stopped making video games, video game based movies. And Resident Evil, even though the critics didn't give it all that much credit, I think if it wasn't for Resident Evil, Hollywood would not be making as many video game based movies as they were now. I mean, the whole zombie movie genre was completely over. After Resident Evil, the first Resident Evil movie came out, you saw all these zombie movies come out, like Dawn of the Dead and Land of the Dead. And all of a sudden, like movies like 28 Days Later, and you got all of these zombie movies coming out. You didn't have that not so long ago. And the next game-based movie I want to tackle, it was Doom. Doom, I thought they really paid attention to the story on Doom. I thought the plot was okay. The action was pretty awesome. They focused really on the imagery and how the game feels. I like how at the end the game is played in first player mode. I thought that was really cool. Alright. Now I'm going to talk about some movies that haven't came out, but from what I've heard, they sound like they're going to be pretty promising. These movies are movies based on games which I like to play, like Devil May Cry. I always did love Devil May Cry. Devil May Cry was awesome. The first the first game came out when I was about, I want to say 12. Played that game, it changed my life. My hopes is for the movie, which is due out in 2008, might be 2009, because I haven't been hearing too much production and development on the movie. But I hope that when the movie does come out, I hope that the directors and the producers pay real close attention to the story and every detail to the story. I hope Dante actually looks like Dante. I hope Dante actually has silver hair, not short red hair like Street Fighter, like how they messed over Ken. And some more, they have a Prince of Persia movie coming out, which is directed by the same guy who did Transformers. I saw Transformers, I loved it, so if he brings that type of special effects and pays close attention to the story like he did in Transformers, I think that's going to be a huge blockbuster. What else? Onimusha. I have huge faith that Onimusha is going to do good. Directed by the same guy who did Silent Hill, although I thought Silent Hill wasn't all that great, but even though it wasn't great, he did pay real close attention to the visual and to the story itself. So if he can do that with Onimusha, and plus what I like about the movie is that the cast are Asian. They're not going to have like the main character Samanosuke be some white guy or just completely different race. I'm glad that they're keeping it story based. And so Onimusha should be coming out sometime around 2009, 2010. All Asian cast. You don't have to worry about any subtitles. The Asian, they're gonna speak in English. So for all you subtitle hating people like myself, sometimes, occasionally, it depends. So that's what I gotta say. And now here's the questions.